All right, welcome everyone. I'm Chris Zellers and I'm with Rutgers Cooperative Extension Family and Community Health Sciences program here in Cape May County. I was just explaining to the people that are here with us live at Ocean City Library that my office is right on the backside of the zoo down in Cape May Courthouse. So I don't commute to New Brunswick every day. I'm lucky enough to live right here and work right here in Cape May County for Rutgers Cooperative Extension. So we are recording tonight's video. If you have any questions or anything, it will be posted to our YouTube page at another time, just in case you're interested in viewing or sharing with a friend. Get this to work. It was working. Behind the scenes tonight, we have Brooke Shiera, and I thank you, Brooke. If you have any questions or anything, you can put them into the chat, and Brooke can try to help you out with those. So before we get started tonight, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. If you're not familiar with Rutgers Cooperative Extension, we are a local entity of the university. So we are the university's arm to the community, and we teach here in all the different counties throughout the state. We currently have in 20 of the 21 counties across New Jersey, we have faculty or staff, and we have 3 departments. My department, which is Family and Community Health Sciences. We have 4-H and youth development, which a lot of people are familiar with 4-H. And then we also have agricultural and natural resources, or A&R. And those are the folks that help do a lot. They do master gardener programs. They go out and they help with the farmers and the growers and do a variety of things with agriculture. So we are funded through USDA NIFA, and we are a collaboration between Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, NIFA, USDA, and also the county commissioner. So we have an agreement with the counties to be there. We provide services, and in return, they usually house us, depending on the county. All right. And of course, Rutgers is an equal opportunity employer and educator. And I have here a QR code. So just as when you were in college, you had to give feedback to the professor about the class, that's what this is. So if you get a chance, I'm going to put it up at the end too. If you could just be so kind as to at least answer the first 2 questions, it's very helpful for me when I'm doing my work and proving that I was here. There's a sign-in sheet here. If you haven't had a chance to sign in, if you could please do that, I'd greatly appreciate that. I like to let them know I'm not at the beach. I'm here teaching tonight. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about seafood and its health benefits. The objectives of today's class we're focusing a lot on the health benefits of New Jersey seafood. And I'll give you a little information about that. Back in 2020, a colleague of mine, Dr. Doug Zemeckis, and I were chatting on the phone, and it was 2020, and we had just met each other, and I just started this job, and he's a marine biologist. So we kind of started having a conversation about, the fishers are going to be bringing fish to market, and there's nobody in the restaurants, there's nobody to take that. And at the same time, being in the I teach nutrition, wellness, and physical activity. So I had the idea and knew that Americans do not eat enough seafood. We do not meet the recommendations overall. So we're usually pretty low on those recommendations. So Doug and I said, hey, how about we get together and kind of mesh the 2 departments, and we create a class called What's the Catch? New Jersey Seafood and Healthy Living. So we did that. And his part of the class is kind of talking about not the health benefits, how fish are raised and caught in New Jersey, aquaculture, things like that. We pulled in some of our friends from Rutgers Haskins Shellfish Lab down in Cape May. So we had a cross-departmental group that worked together on that. And so we did that for several years. And our hope was really to help impact the socioeconomic climate of what was happening to the fishers in New Jersey. And that work has broadened what we do. And we're doing fisher and farm wellness now, all kinds of things have kind of grown out of that one class, which was fantastic. But right now we're rebooting it. So we're looking at trying to make it into a curriculum. We're trying to make it into something that they can use in schools with our 4-H and youth development programs. So we're working on building it up again. So this is a shortened version of What's the Catch? Because that's like 2 90-minute classes. And I know you all didn't sign up for that. But this is just an abridged version of it. So we're going to talk about those health benefits specifically of New Jersey seafood. We're going to talk about preparation and safe handling as well, because these are all really important things. Now, a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, in addition to what I mentioned there, is that also in 2021, I got a little bit of money to do a small study to try to figure out why aren't people eating the seafood recommendations? Like, why aren't they eating enough seafood? Because a lot of times it comes out that it's cost, or other, I don't know how to prepare it. So we kind of use that information also to help prepare the lessons tonight and expand on those. So it is based in not just research overall, like broad research, but also the research that has been done right here in Cape May County. All right, so seafood is really a very nutrient dense, high protein food, and it has relatively low levels of total fat, saturated fat, sodium, and calories in comparison to a lot of other foods. And for those reasons, the guidelines suggest that Americans should increase their seafood consumption and eat seafood at least twice a week. So the recommendation is 2 to 3 times a week, depending on if you're looking at AHA or you're looking at the dietary guidelines. But that's, and I know it's hard sometimes to get that much in, but if you can think about where you can replace other proteins, it'll help because, again, it is a nice lean protein for us. A variety of seafood, just like a variety of fruits and vegetables are recommended. So is a variety of seafood. We don't want to be eating the same seafood over and over again. So we want to try to get a variety. It's also really important to consider healthy preparation methods. These are really essential for maintaining the seafood's nutritional value. So try to avoid adding fat to them, like unhealthy fats, and avoid trying to deep fry them. I know sometimes that's the way people like it, and that's okay once in a while. But if you're going to be eating it 2 to 3 times a week, you don't want to deep fry it every time, right? So try broiling it or another method that is not going to add so much fat into it. Everything in moderation, right? All right here in Cape May County, Fish Alley, right in Sea Isle City, the health benefits that New Jersey seafood support, with that nutrient dense seafood that we talked about. They include assisting with mental and brain health, right? Did you ever hear the saying that fish is brain food? They enhance our immune functions and they support the nervous system. Heart disease, we know, is a leading cause of death in the United States, and numerous studies have associated diets that are low in total fat, cholesterol, trans fats. They reduce the risk of coronary heart disease and they help circulation and other heart benefits from regularly consuming seafood. So, that it's a low fat, so it helps with a heart healthy diet. If you've ever done looking into any other, I call it, they're diets, but they're not diets, like the DASH diet or the Mediterranean diet, they are also more heavily concentrated in fish. And, we know from the Mediterranean diet and the blue zones that the folks that in these concentrated areas where there's a lot of sedentarians living, 100-year-old plus people, they do consume a diet that's pretty high in fish. So it's an interesting fact that goes along with that. So just think about how you can regularly consume it. So the dietary guidelines have changed. I'm not going to touch it. They've changed this year, but there is still recommendations around eating seafood and that it's a healthy seafood diet. So 4 ounces of seafood provides an average of 250 milligrams per day of long chain N3 omega-3 fatty acids, and it's associated with reduced cardiac mortality from coronary heart disease or sudden death in persons with and without cardiovascular disease. So it's a good option. Seafood can help individuals maintain a heart-healthy diet, plus it's omega-3, which I already said, both of those. Okay. All right, so recommendations. This is for seafood. This, again, 2 to 3 times a week, 4 ounces. That's based on a 2,000 calorie diet. So yeah, she's doing the hand thing. That's in the next slide. So a good way to measure is the palm of your hand. Usually I always say I have small hands, less protein, but that's just a general run of the mill. So again, it's based on a 2,000 calorie diet. 2,000 calorie is average American. It's not, it's going to vary. Like some people might need 1,400 calories a day. Other people might need 3,000 calories a day. So it's going to depend upon your calorie needs and your amounts for that. So it's the palm of the size of the palm of your hand. Children 2 years old get about 1 ounce, and children 11 years old get 4 ounces. And then they increase children's consumption as they age until they work up to the 4 ounce, to the amount that they need there. So, and it is actually safe to consume the fish for children and pregnant women. Now, this is always a contentious point. People are like, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. And I'm going to explain why there's the differences. But this chart, which I can send out afterwards, has a recommendation for the best choices, the good choices, and the choices to avoid. So for the younger population or those vulnerable populations, we want to make sure we stay in the best choices. For the people that, they should avoid the things like the tilefish, the shark, the swordfish, the mackerel that are going to be a lot heavier in your mercury content. So you want to make sure that you're staying where your needs are, because everybody's different. I can remember watching a show one time. I don't know, it was a talk show at night, and I was just like half asleep, and I was like, what? But somebody was saying that they had eaten so much fish that they were getting sick from it. It was an actor. And there's a lot of things out about like Seaspiracy, all that kind of stuff happening. Seaspiracy, the guy came out and said that he actually lied for the Netflix thing, and there's a white paper out about it. So there's a lot of misinformation around it. This is, again, we're an R1 university. This is the science behind it, and this is what is being recommended by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. So for women, 8 to 12 ounces per week is recommended. One serving, approximately 4 ounces. Children, like I said, it varies, but their age. But you want to try to look at that if you're in a vulnerable population for what you should and should not eat. And here is it. Yep. Okay. I'll get to that. I don't know if I have that other slide in here. I might grab that one out of there. The other thing that I get all the time is it safe? I get, even though this is a class about New Jersey seafood, people ask about seafood that's produced in other countries and what have you. So the seafood in the United States is very regulated. And one of the people that we had that did What's the Catch New Jersey Seafood and Living with us, she was doing her doctoral dissertation in seafood labeling. So she made herself an expert, did all the research and everything. And Lauren actually created the slide. So you can see here, things are locally caught, landed, harvested, raised in New Jersey. So they have the different little signs on there. And there's actually a Jersey Fresh notification that, just like with the fruits and vegetables. And in order to be Jersey Fresh, you really do have to verify, like they have some guidelines around it. It's not like you can just stick a label on there and be Jersey Fresh. So they are, they are sustainable. I was trying to think. We do have, if you're curious about the sustainability and the part that Dr. Doug did in this with the fishers and aquaculture, we do have videos on our YouTube page that you can go on and watch more about the sustainability. I'm not really going to hop into that a lot tonight. But again, here in New Jersey, we're fortunate. We catch, we land, we go through harvesting and raising it right here. And I don't know if you've ever noticed or not, but as you go over the big bridge outside of Ocean City, there's an aquaculture farm out there, which is awesome. So, right here in our backyards, we have it. So that's great. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of selecting, because just as, we want to be watching for those vulnerable populations, we also want to make sure that we select and purchase seafood that is in good shape, because we don't want to get anything that is not healthy for us. So you want to make sure that it's fresh and it's kept well by the fishmonger or the grocer. It's important to have that happen for your health, for your family's health, and to get that freshest taste from your seafood as well. And also, it can be expensive, so you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. So when you purchase fish, it should be displayed on a thick bed of ice. And I know when I used to live over in South City, I lived on a corner down the street from a fish market, and you go in there and he was constantly pushing that ice around, right? So you want to have it kept cold on that thick bed of ice. It should be the eyes of the fish. If the eyes are still on there, they should be clear and the bowl and bulged, and the gills of the fish should be red, right? So you don't want anything that's like mushy or anything, and you don't want the cloudy eyes. I'm sorry to gross you out, but I know. Listen, when I was pregnant, I was just saying this the other day, I smelled everything, and I could not go near the seafood aisle. I'd be up in the front register, like covering my face, and the lady's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I can smell the seafood department," and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, great sense of nose there, but yeah, I feel you." You also, if you press on the skin, it should spring up, so your finger should not go in it. So your finger should be able to kind of like spring up and not be pushed into it. If you're purchasing fillets, then make sure they're not dry or dark, or they're not green around the edges. So you want to make sure like the edges of it are nice and consistent with the middle. Fillets, like whole fish, should not be mushy or dry in the center. Fish that is off color or mushy is an indication that it's old. So it's probably been there a little too long. And honestly, most of the fishmongers in our area are really good about keeping things iced, and they're very, very good about it. So if you purchase shellfish, make sure they're alive. And if you tap a clam, he should say, "Hey, what's up?" No, he should close. You should close back up if you tap it, because he doesn't want you to get them. So if it doesn't open, or you cook it and it doesn't open, unfortunately get rid of it. If it's cracked or broken, you have to get rid of it. Crabs and lobsters spoil after death. So the one on your sweater is probably not doing so good. So they do spoil after death. So make sure you're choosing them with movement in them, that they're, I always wondered as a kid, you'd go into the restaurants or and they'd have those little critters running around in there, like, why do they keep them in there? But it's actually because you want to keep them alive. So you want to keep them alive until you're ready to cook them. And then when purchasing frozen seafood, make sure that the packaging's not damaged in any way or torn or opened or crushed. Check for frost or ice crystals, because this could mean the fish is old or it's been thawed already, and we don't want to have something that's thawed and then refrozen. So check for that, ice crystals. I know sometimes I'll go to buy shrimp and there'll be like an ice box, chunk. And don't buy seafood that's been stored above the frost line. Like, how sometimes they'll have the box there and then it'll be stacked up out of the box. If it's above the frost line, then it's not being kept at that proper temperature. So it's really important that it's handled correctly on the end of the person that's selling it, on the vendor. But then as a consumer, it's important that you look for what's happening there so it's safe. All right. So one of the things, again, I mentioned that I had done the survey here in Cape May County to get ideas about why people were not eating a lot of seafood. And some people did say it was the cost. I will say, with that caveat, that they were saying it was the cost, but they were buying the more expensive seafood too. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can have those couple times a week of seafood and maybe make it a little bit more economical. So see when getting down to this. All right. So buy in season food, just like we're told to buy in season vegetables, right? They're close, they're local. There's a lot of things that can be really good in season. And then the nice thing is you can take that what's in season and you can freeze it in your freezer and have it later on, so that it's more economical when you buy it. So along those same lines, stock up when things are on sale. If there's something that's really a favorite of yours and it's on sale, then go ahead and grab that and have that. I said to my husband the other day, this is a true story. I was looking through the grocery store ad, and I was flipping through and there was lobster. I mean, they were little lobster. The lobster was less expensive than the blueberries. Yeah. So look at the sales, because there's stuff, and we'll buy, like, when that's on sale, like, that's not something we have regularly in our house, but when it's on sale, we'll buy it and, and freeze it. Cause if it's already, especially a lot of times it'll come already cut up or whatever. So we'll do that and prepare it at home. So we have that special treat. So stock up when there's sales. Try those more expensive foods or fish or shellfish when it's on sale, but then also save it for a special occasion. So if you're going to go overboard, spend a little more money on it than usual, then try to do it when it's a special occasion. And then the other thing that's really great is whitefish. So whitefish can be very inexpensive. We have flounder or flute here. So there's ways that you can preserve that and use that in so many different recipes. So one of the things I'll send out to you all afterwards, and if anybody wants this information, I'll share my information with you so you can get it as well. But I know we have I think we have everybody's email that registered, but I'll share this out with the group. So we have recipes online that we created, again, during 2020 when we were trying to keep things rolling and keep this program going. So we made a lot. And my colleague, Joanne Kinsey, that used to be in Atlantic County, did this really nice Mediterranean dish with whitefish. And it was really inexpensive because she added vegetables. Yeah, it's really good. So lots of spices, herbs, fresh vegetables with it. And it's in a little bit of a red sauce, but it's one pot. It's delicious. And we have the video, so you can just follow along with the video. So I can share them out. There's also some recipes on there for things like clams casino, clams and spaghetti, tuna, sesame crusted tuna. So a lot of different recipes that we can share out there, because again, people didn't always know how to prepare it. So try whitefish. It's a good filler, great for tacos. There's a lot of things you can do with it. Put it on over pasta or serve it, with some lemon wine and vinegar. Lemon wine and olive oil, and it cooks up real nice. And then try something new. There's so many great fish out there that people just don't regularly try. Some people have a little bit of an aversion, like myself, because of the smell, but find another fish that isn't so smelly. And when you go into the fishmongers, ask them what does that taste? Is it strong? Is it a light taste? How does that taste? Because that's going to give you a lot more opportunity to enjoy it to what you need. So don't hesitate to ask questions when you're buying fish, because they like to share the information with you, and they're usually pretty knowledgeable about that. All right, so the seasonal part about it, I talked about this a little bit earlier. There's a high availability in New Jersey of clams, oysters, and squid almost year round. All right, so if you're looking as far as buying it seasonally to make sure it's economical, you can have that year round. Moderate availability is dogfish. It's usually available year round in this area. And the greatest availability in the early spring, usually April to June. Again, it depends on the waters and the temperatures and things like that. Usually that's for New Jersey is our flounder, our monkfish, and our scallops. And I don't know if y'all have ever had fresh scallops, but oh my gosh, the best, right? They're really good. And we're really lucky where we live if you can get them, especially when they come right off the boats. They're really good. And then finally, the greatest availability later in the summer and into the fall, like maybe July to October, again, depending on our waters, is the swordfish, shark mako, the porgy, bluefish, and tuna. So all just opportunities to look at when, again, you're looking at that seasonality. Maybe you're buying the scallops, when they're a little less expensive in the summertime and getting them locally and fresh, and maybe you could freeze them. So again, with the prices, now last night I was lying in bed and I was up north today, so I didn't get a chance to update this, but I did pull my phone out and look at the prices again. These prices are old, I'll be honest with you. But you can see here, a New York strip steak is $14 to $22 per pound. I looked it up. It was $27 per pound. I know. It's nauseating. And then fluke or flounder, so again, we're talking whitefish, is $9.99 to $13 a pound. So you can see that it's still, we're running at the bottom end of a steak, okay? And then monkfish was, at the time I did this, was running around $14.99 per pound, and just comparison in the prices. Tuna steaks were running around $10.99 per pound. This is from the recipe to cook the tuna steaks. They're tuna steaks there. And if you're not a tuna steak eater, they are awesome. I'm been back and forth with beef over my lifetime, but tuna steaks I feel like are really a good, and they nice and healthy and light. And then swordfish was running around 17, so it's a little bit higher. But you can see, a lot of people make the excuse or say, oh, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. But if you do a comparison, buy it when it's on sale, buy it seasonally, it'll be a little easier. And there's opportunities too, to like those whitefish. You can chop that up and put it in a sandwich and have it for lunch. You don't just have to have your seafood at dinner time. You can plop it in other places. All right, so now let's store. Look, they're nice glassy eyes on these fish. We're gonna store and cook the seafood here. So idea is if you buy fresh seafood, the storage is 2 days in the fridge, or you have to freeze it. I should say, or freeze it. So you want to make sure that you're not keeping it out too long, because then it will start to get dried out and mushy and things like that, right? You also want to thaw. If you're going to thaw your frozen seafood, you can thaw it in a dish overnight. Make sure it's on the bottom shelf, so if it leaks, it doesn't leak anywhere. You can also put it under some, not hot water, but warm water, just to make it a little more pliable and easy to cook. You can microwave it. Just make sure you don't go too heavy to defrost it, because then you might have a problem there. When you cook seafood, you want to cook it to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's hard to tell. I tell my husband this all the time. He walks in, he goes, "Is this done?" And he's colorblind. And I'm like, no, it's like still flipping. Like, no. So I've bought him so many meat thermometers. I'm like, here's a meat thermometer, go measure it. So the best way to know if it's done is to put the meat thermometer in there. Don't go completely through the fish. Just get it in there to like the middles, because if you go all the way through, you're going to get the pan heat, not the actual fish. So you want to look at that. Other ways to tell if the flesh on the fish, it should be opaque and easily to separate. I usually will pull it apart, to separate it if it's a white fish. Scallops should be opaque but firm. Shrimp and lobster should be pearly opaque. Mussels, clams, oysters until the shell opens. And what are we doing if they don't open? Throw them out. Yeah, you don't want to get sick on that. I don't know if any of you have ever had a bad clam, but okay. So more tips on seafood safety. So if we're out and about, we don't want to leave the seafood out for more than 2 hours. Never leave that seafood out for more than an hour if the temperature is over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, right? I know. I hope I don't have to tell you, but if you are going to be out somewhere like at a picnic or at barbecue or something like that, make sure you have it on ice. Like put something underneath it to keep it on ice. So if it's like a shrimp cocktail, I have a friend and her favorite appetizer to bring is shrimp cocktail. So she like has her little container, Tupperware container, she fills with ice, and then she puts the ice on top of it. So that's a great way to do it. If you're out in the boat and you're fishing or you're on the shore fishing, make sure to store the fillets in an ice pack cooler in the shade so that it's out of the sunlight and it's not getting that direct heat. So just more safety precautions with them because this is, how we do use these things. All right, so here are my references. That was faster than I anticipated tonight. And then on the back here, this is my email address at the bottom. If you have questions or you want me to email you, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. But do you have questions? I'll take questions. Oh, sorry, we're doing a poll online. If y'all could fill that out, please. Does anybody online have any questions? Also, just a little PSA while they're doing the poll online. There's some advertisements for classes coming up, and we're also having a lunch and learn eating seasonally made easy on June 9th. So you're welcome to join that as well. All right. Have a good night, everybody.